About 2 months ago, Governor Jay Inslee signed into law the Suicide Safer Homes Bill that works to curb suicides across our state. The groundbreaking legislation brings together gun rights groups and pharmacists with suicide prevention advocates. Washington's suicide rate is 14 times higher than the national average, and many believe not enough is being done about it. One of the many people working tirelessly to change that is Jennifer Stuber, Associate Professor of the UW School of Social Work and the co-founder of Forefront. Jennifer joins me here today on the News at Noon. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
And I know this issue goes beyond just those numbers for you. Why are you personally so passionate about this?
Well, in 2011, I sadly lost my husband, Matt Adler, to a firearm-related suicide. And, at the time, I became a 38-year-old widow and a single parent to 2 kids. And I know that there is a lot of things that I wish I knew then that I now know. And so I'm working really hard to help prevent this tragedy from happening to other families across Washington.
And you put your heart and soul into this. You have helped pass 5 new laws in recent years which require suicide prevention training for health workers and educators. But this latest one that was signed into law by Governor Inslee, which you worked on in Olympia, extends to pharmacists and gun dealers. Let's talk about why it's so important to get the gun stores and the gun dealers involved.
Great. Well, so we know that roughly half of all suicides, the means that are used are firearms. And firearms don't cause suicide, but what we know is that people with mental health disorders are often struggling, can be very impulsive, and if they choose a gun that may be readily available in their homes to end their lives, it's highly lethal. And it's often a very impulsive act. We know that most people who die by suicide don't want to end their lives, they want to end their pain. And so they don't see a way forward or a way out, and there's many ways forward and ways out. But the gun dealers are really important because they can help with messages around safe storage. So for children, it's really important if you've got a kid struggling, to make sure that those firearms are secured, and also medications. Also really important in terms of getting rid of medications that are lying around the house that could be dangerous. It could be used in poisoning and overdoses. So just a lot of really important messages where gun dealers and pharmacists can play a key role in suicide prevention.
So we have these graphics up on the screen here, and this is part of your Forefront-led task force. Your first meeting was last night.
Yep.
And these are just some of the things that Safer Homes Bill looked to do. You talked about the message and the training for those gun store owners, getting suicide prevention education into current legislation like hunter safety training. How would that work?
Well, so in order to get a hunter's license in the state of Washington, and there's actually very few hunting accidents because we have this hunter safety training course. So you actually have to take some training. And so the idea here is actually the biggest risk from firearms is actually dying by suicide. And so we want to make sure that there's some key messages, available to parents whose children are training in hunter safety or people who are getting their hunter safety license, for people to understand the importance of how to prevent suicide and the role potentially of firearms being misused in suicide.
And you also talked a little about the safe gun storage as well and medical disposal and working on that through this task force. Let's talk quickly while we have another minute or so about the myths of suicide that you talked to me over the phone. Let's talk first about the fact that some people think if I ask them about it, then they will. Talk about that.
Right. So Michelle, let me ask you a question. Are you feeling suicidal?
I'm not.
You're not. So does my asking you that question make you feel suicidal?
No.
So it's a very common myth that people believe that if you ask directly about suicide, that's going to put the idea in people's heads. And the truth is, people who are feeling suicidal are in deep pain and often have been struggling for quite some time. They want people to ask directly about whether they're feeling suicidal and to have them, and they need help. They need assistance in getting help.
And you talked about this too, the person, that's a myth that they want to die. You said it earlier. What do they want?
They actually want to end their pain. They want to get help. And so it's a big thing. We talk about people dying by suicide as being selfish. The real issue is that they want to end their pain, and they actually illogically believe that they're a burden to family and friends, which is obviously not the truth, but there's a lot of myths about that.
All right. Jennifer Stuber from UW Forefront, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much.